Hello everyone. So in this video, which you all have been waiting for long, yes, I know I took some time to upload it, but it was the weekend. So here I am with the answers for chapter 1, lesson 7 homework. So you can check the homework. It was an easy homework rather, but there were quite many questions, but they were easy questions. So let's start with question number 1. Now this is one of the easiest questions we have. The absolute value of x equals 12. Now, as you know, the absolute value of x equals 12 means what should be inside the absolute value sign? It should be either x should be equal to 12 or it should be equal to a negative 12. As you know, if even a negative number stays inside the absolute value, the answer is going to be a positive one, as this means the distance from 0 to the number. So it can be a negative 12 because these are the units we count. Okay, similarly, this also the same. X can be a positive half or x can be a negative half. So these are the two possibilities you can give. The next one can be x, the absolute value of x minus 6 equals 4. So you know it from that video previously, which we have learned, or I will leave the link above. You can press the iCard and go back and revise. So you have to get rid of this number which is outside these absolute value signs lines. So that's going to be 4 plus 6, which means it's going to be x is going to be 10. So that can be negative 10 or it can be a positive 10. It can be x can be negative 10 or x can be positive 10. So let's write it this way too. It's also you can say x is equal to negative 10 or x is equal to 10, but you can write it in this way too. It's all right. Even if you write like this in parentheses, that's fine. Okay, let's move on to question number 4. So this again, we have to get rid of this number which is outside the absolute value lines. So as you know, this is plus 5. So that means when it moves to the other side, that will become minus 5. So 14 minus 5 will give us how much? That will give you a 9. So our answer can be a positive 9 or it can be a negative 9. So x can be 9 equal to 9 or x can be equal to negative 9. Now here this means multiply, as here there is a sign in between the number and the absolute value sign, but here there is no sign. That means it is multiply, right? So opposite of multiply, of course, you know that we have to get rid of this number. So that's going to be 24 divided by 3. That's going to give you absolute value of x is going to be 8, which means absolute x can be 8 or it can be negative 8. So they are very easy questions, though there were many, but they are easy. Now here we don't have any number around the absolute value. So all what we need to do is give the two possibilities, right? So we have to draw the line. So let's draw the line and then say that is one side is x plus 3 equals 10. The other side x plus 3 equals negative 10. So you will solve how you would normally solve an equation now. 10 minus 3, so x is equal to 7, or we can say that x equals negative 10 negative 3, right? The plus 3 will become minus 3 when it moves to the other side. So that will give you x is equal to negative 13. So it is a very easy part because there are no numbers out of the absolute value signs to remove them. So simply you give the two possibilities and here you are with the answer. X is equal to 7 and x is equal to negative 13. Okay, let's move on to question number 7. Now here as well, there is nothing to remove before we start solving because there are no numbers outside the absolute value lines. So what's the next step you need to do? You need to give the two possibilities. So one possibility is going to be the same one as in the question. So that's going to be x minus 1 equals 2. And the other side we have x minus 1 equals negative 2, right? So the other side we have x minus 1 equals negative 2. So this is going to be x is equal to 2 plus 1. So x is equal to 3 And here it's going to be x is equal to negative 2 plus 1. X is going to be equal to negative 1. So x can be 3 or x can be negative 1. Okay, let's move on to this question now. This again, there is a 4 multiplied x, the absolute value of x minus 5, right? So of course you have to remove the 4 first. So to remove the 4, what are we going to do? We have to divide because this is multiply. So first let's remove the 4 from the other side. So that means 12 divided by 4. So this is going to be absolute value of x minus 5 equals 3. How did we get the 3? 12 divided by 4 is 3. Now what's the next step? Of course you have to give the two possibilities for the equation, right? So one side is going to be x minus 5 equals 3. And on the other side, we say x minus 5 equals negative 3. We make one positive, one negative. So as easy as how you could solve an equation. So one is going to be x is equal to 8. And on the other side, it's going to be negative 3 plus 5. X is going to be equal to negative, not negative, it's going to be positive 2. Why did I say it's negative? It's minus 3 plus 5, right? So it's going to be 2. X is equal to 2. Okay, so one is x is equal to 8 and one is x is equal to 2. Okay, let's move on to question number 9. Now again we need to remove this negative 3 from here, right? So that means first we need to solve x plus 2 equals 9 plus 3. That means absolute value of x plus 2 is going to be equal to 12, right? So now what are you going to do? You have to give the two possibilities. So let's give the two possibilities. That's going to be x plus 2 equals 12 and x plus 2 equals negative 12. So x is going to be equal to 12 minus 2. X is going to be equal to 10. And this side, it's going to be x is going to be equal to negative 12, negative 2. So x is going to be equal to negative 14. So the x is 10 and x can be negative 14 also. So let's move on to the next question. That is question number 10. We have here nothing to remove before we start solving the absolute value equation, right? So here let's give the two possibilities. So one possibility is going to be 6x equals 18. And the second one is going to be 6x equals negative 18. Okay, so as you know, you don't need to do anything. That's just a mental math thing to do, but it's always better to do with steps. So x is going to be equal to 3. This is going to be, x is going to be equal to negative 18 divided by 6. So x is going to be equal to negative 3. So x can be 3 and negative 3. Okay, so here again we don't have anything to solve, right? So we give the two equations. One equation is going to be x minus 1 equals 0, right? Now, do we give this equation as x minus 1 equals negative 0? If you would have remember what we studied in the previous lesson, if the absolute value equals 0, that means that equation will have only one answer. So why are we going to give two values to this, right? So never do the mistake of giving two values, as if any absolute value equation equals 0, that means this has only one solution. There will be only one answer for this question. So the only answer is going to be 0 plus 1. X is going to be 1. That's all is going to be the answer, nothing else. Okay, so never do the mistake of writing x minus 1 equals minus 0. That I wrote to show you that it doesn't make any sense writing 0. Okay, so never do that mistake. If any absolute value equation equals 0, that means that equation has only one answer. Okay, let's solve this. So of course we need to remove this plus 2. So we move it to the other side. That will become x minus 3 equals 2 minus 2. So x minus 3 equals 0. Now again there is a 0. So what's the first rule we just learned here? If any absolute value equation equals 0, you don't have two solutions, you have only one, which is x minus 3 equals 0, x is equal to 0 plus 3, x is equal to 3. So there is only one solution. Have you ever heard of anything called minus 0? As you know, in the number line, there is only one 0. There are no negative numbers. But all the other numbers have negatives, right? If that was the number line, if 0 was here, 0 is like the center. We have 1 here, we have 2 here, and so on. And then we have -1, -2, -3. We have these numbers. One negative and one positive, but only for 0, 0 is 0 because that's the center of the number line. We have never learned any number line called 0 and then -0. We have never learned anything like this. So that doesn't make sense that when we give a negative number, negative sign to the 0. So remember, always when the absolute value is equal to 0, the answer will be only 1. Let's move on to these questions. Okay, now these are completely related to the lesson which we learned. So here they are asking how many solutions does the equation x plus 7 equal 1 have? So here it is equal to 1. So if it is equal to 1, you just consider as the others absolute value equations, just like 6x equals 18, x minus 1 equals 2. So how many answers did we have here? We had 2. So this will also have 2 solutions. Okay, here how many solutions does the equation x plus 7 equals 0 have? So here everything equal to 0. How many solutions did they have? They just had only one solution. And what did we learn in the previous video? How many solutions does the equation x plus 1 equals minus 1 have? Minus 1, can an absolute value equation be equal to negative? Never. So such will have 0 or no solutions. If you write 0 solutions also, it's okay. If you say no solutions also, it's fine. Okay. Here, Leticia, whoever it is, sets the thermostat in her apartment to 68 degrees. So in her apartment, she has set the thermostat, that's the temperature in her apartment, to 68 degrees. The actual temperature in her apartment can vary from this by as much as 3.5 degrees. So dependent on this, the temperature apartment of the temperature can be 3.5 more or 3.5 less. Now it's simple. When you subtract 68 from 3.5, either you will get the less one, or if you add 3.5, you will get the more one. Okay, that's a simple equation. But here they said write an absolute value. As you know, we are learning about absolute value equations, so of course it's related to absolute value. So those who didn't understand, I'm repeating the question again. Letitia sets her thermostat in her apartment to 68 degrees. She has set the temperature in the thermostat to 68, but it can be more 3.5 degrees more than 68 or 3.5 degrees less than 68. So let's write the equation, absolute value equation. So we put the absolute value sign. X is the temperature which can vary, which can go up or which can go down. So the actual temperature setting was 68, which can vary by 3.5 degrees. Okay, so solve the equation to find the minimum and maximum temperature. So just as how we have solved this many equations, now we are just going to do the same. So one side we will have x minus 68 equals 3.5, and on the other side we will have x minus 6.8 equals minus 3.5. Okay, so let's solve this. X is going to be equal to 3.5 plus 68. So as you know, there is a decimal here and there is no decimal here. So how do you add these numbers? We write the bigger number of course, 68. Now if there is no decimal, means where is the decimal for 68 going to be? It's going to be after the number. In fact, it's at 68.0. That's why we don't either write the decimal or the 0. Then 3.5. How do you place 3.5? Of course, you know that decimal under decimal, right? So decimal under decimal, 3.5. So add them, you will get 71.5. Now I'm not showing you each and every step, you know how to add them. So x is going to be equal to 71.5. Okay, similarly here, x is going to be equal to negative 3.5 plus 6 point, not 6.8, it's 68. Why did I write 6.8? It's 68. X minus 68. So this is going to be plus 68. But what is the rule when you have one negative and one positive number? You will of course subtract the numbers. So start by writing the bigger number 68. So where is the decimal for this number going to be? After 68, so which means it is 68.0 minus 3.5. So subtract it, you will get 64.5. So x is going to be equal to 64.5. As I told you before, if you add 3.5 or if you subtract 3.5, you'll get the answer. That's what basically we have done here. Added 3.5 and here we have subtracted 3.5. But as always, math should have, of course, proof. Proof is very important in math. Without this proof, you cannot do math at all. Okay, because anywhere you go, they will ask, how do you do this? On what basis do you say this? So this is our proof. Okay, so hopefully all of your answers are right. As I always say, it's all right to make mistakes, as you learn by making mistakes. So that's perfectly fine. Now if you make mistake, next time you won't do it again, right? That's the purpose of making mistakes, not to do them again. So hopefully the lesson is clear and the homework answers are right. If it's not right, just do the question by yourself again and try to check it to see which steps are wrong. Okay, and then redo it. So as I've said in some of the previous videos, so if you think this video is helpful for anyone of your friends or of anyone you know, ask them to watch the video so that they will also get the knowledge of what you got, how you are doing the questions, right? These small helps can we can do for anyone. A help is a help, whether small or big, right? We can help anyone in any way. So till we meet again in the next video, keep doing math and keep studying. So meet you all again in another video.